Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Come on in. Come on in to our virtual space, our cyber sanctuary, as we like to call it. You know already what we ask you to do. We ask you to like and share. That is your currency. That is your obligation. That is your, let's call it a method of payment. All of us, you got to pay something if you want something. So, what you pay is your share. You help us to get this message of greater intelligence out to as many as people as possible. So you can share this. Text someone and say, hey, why don't you log in into this social media site and come hear this great lesson, this master class on intelligence. I'm excited tonight. It is the last day of February. It's the last day of Black History, and so grateful. Many of us have been celebrating Black History in our own special way, and so I want us to continue to be proud of who we are and our heritage. Before we begin, I want you to pray for our community, the community in which I serve, which happens to be the city of Pompano Beach. We have been impacted by a great tragedy in our community, another act of senseless violence in our community. And so I want you to pray for those families. I want you to pray for violence all over this land, that God will help us to intervene, help us to come up with plans and strategies and ways that we can curb a lot of this violence. We know that violence won't be eradicated 100%, but I believe that there are things that we can do to make our neighborhoods safer, our streets safer. So I want you to help pray. We've been all day meeting with those that are in governmental power and those who have influence in our community to help shape the city of Pompano into a place that we want to, and as we can say this at our church, to help position people to prosper. I really do believe that Pompano could be a great place for people to prosper, and so, but we got to do our part, all right? So I want you to pray with that, pray with me on that, and as we prepare to move forward in tonight's lesson. Listen, greater intelligence. Have you been enjoying this master class thus far? I know I have. Thank you so much for all of the feedback I've been receiving on Sunday morning from the church in which I pastor, the Zionchurch. So I'm grateful for this master class that God has led me to do. We're celebrating this year at our church. The year of 2023 is the year of greater. And God placed in my spirit to just share this master class. This is normally our time of BBS Bible study. So God wanted me to expand his word a little bit. It's not necessarily a Bible study, although everything that we've discussed are indeed biblical principles. So we don't have to shy away from that. But this is not necessarily Bible study as we know it. It is a master class on developing greater intelligence in all areas and aspects of your life. Part of the greater intelligence is going to be spiritual. We're going to talk a lot about that as we move forward. But I've been, for the last several weeks, we've been talking about personal intelligence. Someone shout personal intelligence. Yes. Put that in the comment section. Personal intelligence. And we've been opening up every week with this theme, this, if you would, this foundational statement that we've been declaring over our lives. And so I want you to declare with me. Say this: I'm greater than my past. I'm greater than my present. And I'm greater than my possibilities. Again, I'm greater than my past. I'm greater than my present. And I'm greater than my possibilities. We call these statements of faith. You may call it affirmations, whatever you want to call it. These are our statements of faith. We believe that no matter how rough our past is, whether it was the past of 15 years ago or whether it was the past yesterday or even an hour from where it was 6 o'clock, that's considered the past. We're greater than that. But we're also greater than what's going on right now. I believe that our city is greater than the violence that's taking place. But also, we are greater than everything we believe is even possible. And so we want to declare that over our lives. And so we've been talking about personal intelligence, knowing more about ourselves, knowing who we are, knowing what we want, understanding that our what kind of determines the when. When we know what we want, we understand when we can have it. Where we are also, determines when we're going to get there. We talked about last week, when you know where you are and then you know where you want to go, you can kind of predetermine the when. You get a ETA, an estimate time of arrival. So knowing where you are and where you want to go is extremely important. But I want to go back to a lesson. I want to go back to a scripture that we unpacked it on last week. Luke chapter 15. Again, Luke chapter 15. I want to cover this verse again. I want to put a spotlight on one word that we perhaps glossed over or missed. I want to look at that tonight. It says this: when he came to his senses, he said to himself, how many of my hired servants have food to spare? And here it is: why am I here starving to death? I want to say that again. He came to himself. He figured out where he was. He asked himself, what am I doing? And he said, how many of my father's hired servants have food to spare? And why? Somebody shout, why? Why am I here starving to death? That's what I want to talk about tonight. The why. The why. Come on, somebody shout the why. The why. The why. Why? Why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? You know, we are in this great generation. We're in this, what I call the why generation. We're in a generation that's unapologetically unafraid to ask the question why. We're going to discover tonight that why is vitally important, that we must understand the why. It was the why in this particular narrative. It was the why that I believe changed the entire outcome. Because for those of you that may not be as biblically literate as some, this is about what we call known as the prodigal son. It was a boy that basically ran away from home after getting his inheritance. And once he left the covering, the protection of his father, he blew all of his money. And because he had no money, he found himself in a farm, a pig pen. He was modeling in mud, eating, the Bible says, eating the same thing that the pigs ate. And it was in that moment, knowing who he was, knowing he's a king's kid, he's someone from royal lineage, he comes to himself and he figures out where he is. And then he asks a very important question. He asks a question that changed his entire life. He asks the question, why? Why am I doing this? Why am I even here? Why am I acting like this? If we're going to achieve greater, we've got to be willing to ask ourselves this important question. Why? We want to unpack it tonight. Why is why important? You may ask yourself that question. Why is why important? There are several things I want to give you, little nuggets. Please take notes. Why is important? Number one, because why establishes meaning. Yes, why gives us meaning. Why gives us meaning. It's important for us to have some level of meaning in life. We see so many people doing so many atrocious things. We see so many people doing dangerous things, and we see so many people doing things they don't have to do, things they were not raised to do, things they're not accustomed to doing, because their life in their eyes have no meaning. And when a person doesn't have meaning, they have no hope. And when they have no hope, they feel helpless. And when they feel helpless, they do things that are unnecessary. So whenever you decide you want to be great at something, you've got to ask yourself why. The why is the motive. Yeah. In order to be great at anything, I believe you must have integral motives. You must have a good reason why you want this. What's your motives? Because I'm a pastor, I'm often investigating why do people, young men, want to be a pastor, and that's important in this day and age, because if you're not careful and you're not fully intelligent as to exactly what the pastor does, you think pastoring is all about a chair. You think pastoring is all about standing on a stage or a platform. You think pastoring is all about driving a nice car and living in a nice house and receiving gifts and all of those things. And the truth is, in many cases, pastoring is none of that. Pastoring is carrying the heart of tens or hundreds and even for some thousands of people on your heart. Pastoring is ministering to people in this lowest point. Pastoring is going to funeral after funeral, and sometimes leaving a funeral and having to go to a wedding, and sometimes leaving a funeral and have to go to a kid's softball game and having to leave this to go here. Pastoring is a lot about leaving your family while you go and take care of the needs of somebody else. What's your motives? Why do you want to do this? Because if you think that it's one thing and you discover that it's something else, you're going to find yourself in a very difficult situation. We see officers, and we see many police officers, many police stations, and many chiefs of police around this country. They're doing their best to try to clean up what we call bad officers that's in the bunch. Because many people, they don't have the right motives as to why they want to wear the badge. Do you want to wear the badge to intimidate people? Do you want to wear the badge to lock people up? The true meaning of the badge is to serve and to protect. And so meaning is important, because your motives have to be pure. Why do you want what you're praying for? Why do you want what you desire? What is the motive behind your prayer? What is the motive behind your desire? You have to understand the why. The why is important. The why brings about meaning. When the motive is established, when the right motive is established, you then get to a place where you can establish some level of meaning. God has given me great purpose. Meaning can also be considered as purpose. I do what I do because there's meaning behind it. What is the meaning? For me, it's to position people to prosper. That's my number one reason for existing. Of course, it's to love my wife and to love my children, but even for them, I want them to be positioned to prosper. I'm not doing what I'm doing to get rich. I'm not doing what I'm doing to become famous. I'm doing what I'm doing because I want to see people be positioned to prosper. I want to see people who had no hope. I want to see people who had a rough past. I want to see people who had bad spending habits and people that were poverty stricken. I want to see them rise up from the ashes. I love testimonies. I love when people say, Pastor, I've gone from this level to this level. Pastor, I've grown from this level to this level. It gives me joy. That's bigger than any paycheck somebody can give me. Why? Because what I do has meaning. Because my motives are pure. I really don't believe that God will honor you with whatever it is you're asking for, whatever it is you're striving for, if you don't have a good meaning for it, if your motives are not pure. So I'm going to ask you a question. Why? What this prodigal son realizes is he could not answer why he was doing what he was doing. Because what he was doing made no sense. Because what he was doing was unnecessary. Because what he was doing was beneath who he was. So his life changed when he asked the question, why am I here starving to death? What is the meaning of this? I thought when I asked for money, I would go and do this and do that, and I didn't understand the value of money, so I wasted everything I had because I didn't understand the meaning of having money. But he had to come to himself and ask the question, why? I want you, as tough as it may seem, as difficult as it may be for you, I want you right now to write this one word down. Why? Why? Because why establishes your meaning. You got to have meaning in life. You got to have purpose in life. Because when you establish your why, when you understand the meaning behind what it is you're doing, when you understand the purpose behind your prayer, now that you have meaning, you can move to another level. What's that level, Pastor A? I'm glad you asked. Why helps you to form a method. Somebody shout method. In order for you to be great, you got to have meaning. And when you have meaning, now you have to develop what I call a method. A method. Shout method. Yes, methods are important. Nothing is sustainable. You cannot have sustainable success if you lack meaning and you lack methods. Teach, I'm trying. Hear me good. You will never have sustainable success when you don't have a meaning and you lack method. What is method? Method is simply this. Here's a definition. Forming a particular systematic way to accomplish something. That's what a method is. Forming a particular systematic way to accomplishing something. In other words, you need a method to do what you're doing, but you need a method to continue to do what you're doing. Because without a method, you will be great, but you won't be great again. Without a method, you may stumble up and do it right one time, but you'll never be able to do it right again. Why? Because many of us stumble on, many of us, we gravitate to something. Many of us, because we don't appreciate process, we gain temporary outcomes and temporary levels of success, but we're never able to strive to reach those levels again. Why? Because we did not have a method. I kid people all the time. How many of us grew up in a house with great cooks? Great cooks. I mean, could throw down. There was one missing ingredient in a lot of our households. And this is why it was not passed down. Because there was no method. We call it, we bragged about it. We just cook in love. We do a little bit of this and we put a little bit of that and we put a little bit of this and put a little bit of that. We didn't read recipes. We didn't think those things were important. We just put it all together and, we were able to do it and we were able to do it and continue to do it. But watch this. When that person who was doing it, because they were the only ones that were doing it, when they passed away, guess what happened with that meal? It never tasted the same. Want to know why? Because the method was not passed down. Oh, the recipe was not passed down. And because the method or the recipe was not passed down, it was not able to be duplicated. Here's what I'm going to tell you. When you have meaning and have method, that's a good combination to be able to make some money. You better teach, Pastor. I'm trying. I'll say it one more time. When you have meaning and you have a good method, which means how you can do it, that's a good recipe to make money. Why? Because now what you're doing can be duplicated. One of my side jobs, really, literally, has become training people, churches, organizations, how to do what we are doing. How do we do technology? How do we get people? How did you get people to pull up and praise? How do you get people? How did your technology become so good? How are you able to take an older congregation and make them valuable, or make them meaningful, and make them ready for 2023? How did you do that? I'm glad you asked. We were able to do it. Here is our system. Here's our methods. Here's the systematic way in which we can do it. Wasn't just, yeah, prayer was involved, but as God was giving us the tools, we wrote them down. And now that we wrote them down and we put them to memory, we're able to package it and duplicate it to help someone else. Oh, teach, Pastor. I'm here to tell you that whatever you want to be great in, you need a method to get there. You need a method. You need a system. It's a particular system in place. What is your method? And your method does not have to be like everybody else's method. But the why is important, because the why brings about the meaning, and the meaning brings about the method. Here it is. The method helps you to save time and money. That's why methods are important. The methods help you to save time and money. Again, it's one thing to stumble up. It's one thing to stumble up on a good piece of cake. It's another thing to build it from the recipe. Because when you're building it from the recipe, it cuts time. Because all you have to do is follow the recipe. So what a method does, a method helps you to save time and money. Two of the most precious commodities we have is time and money. And I want to suggest your time is more valuable than your money. Because if you have a method to make money, even if you lose it, you can make it again. But you can never make up for lost time. So whenever I accomplish something and it became successful, I make sure I document that, and that becomes my method. Because if and when I have to do it again, now the time that I vested doing it the first time, now that I have a method, I have a system in place, now if I have to do it again, I don't have to make the same mistakes that I made the first time. Why? Because now I have created a meaningful method. And again, I say, that's why the what is important. When you know what you want, when you know what you want, when you know what you want to be, now you have to develop this method as to how I want to get there. Do you know how many people have wasted a lot of time and money because they didn't know the method and how to achieve what they wanted? I'll give you an example. Again, everybody's method is not the same. That's why it's important. We've been talking about this. This is a combination of everything that we've talked about this month. This is a culmination of it. You got to know the what. Why is the what important? Because the what will tell her, why do I want to do this? Okay, fine. I got a why. I got some meaning behind it. Now let me find the right method that I need to accomplish this, because so many people spend a lot of time doing stuff they didn't have to do. Man, I like using him as an example because he's just such a great example. Our executive pastor, I mean, he just turned 31 this month. And I'm telling you, that young man is the poster child of great success. I mean, God is blessing him and God is using him in such a mighty way. He's 31 years old and he's married. He's got a child. He's a high-ranking BSO officer, and even now being used and being coded to go even higher. He's on his second house. He's making decent money. I mean, he just got his stuff together at the age of 31, almost a decade into his career at the age of 31. Well, how did he do it? Because he knew his what early, and because he knew his what, he knew the method. He did all that. He's accomplished all that. He doesn't have a bachelor's degree, doesn't have a master's degree. Spent a little time in school, not very long, Why? Because once he understood what he wanted, he understood this is the method that I need to go. So his college was not Barry University, Florida State, FIU. That wasn't his college. His method of getting to become an officer was to go through the police academy. That was his method. He could have gone to college, but guess what? You don't need a college degree to become a police officer. But you do have to go through the training. You see, by understanding his what, he understood the method in which he had to take in order to get there. What I'm trying to tell you is when you understand your method, when you understand what it takes, do you know how many people have great college degrees or go to school for 3 or 4 years and discover that this is not what I wanted to do? See, we got to understand that, again, this is Black History Month. So I remember there was a time where African Americans couldn't go to certain colleges. And so it was very difficult for them to go. And so when those doors started opening, we almost mandated, we almost made college the end all be all. But when you don't understand your what, even college could be a waste of time and money. Because what if you want to be a plumber? If you want to be a plumber, the method of being a plumber is not necessarily going to get a 4-year degree. The method of getting a plumber is to go to a trade school to be taught what it is you want to do. So when you are the best way to position yourself, the best way to position your child and those who you love to prosper is to get them to understand their what. And when they understand that what they want to do and they figure out why they want to do this, now you're able to give them a method that is needed to accomplish what they want to accomplish. See, that's why you need greater intelligence in all of these areas. Because now you're getting to the why. Why gives you meaning. When you have meaning, now you can create some methods. And watch this. When you create the method, when you create the method and you have the meaning, now all of those things give you what I want to call the motivation. Yes. I have meaning. I got a method. Now I can be motivated. My meaning has moved me to be motivated. The moment, write this down. Please write this down. The moment I have meaning, the meaning becomes my motivation. The moment I have this meaning, the meaning becomes my motivation. When I have no meaning, I have no motivation. But when I accept and embrace my meaning, the meaning becomes my motivation. That's what fuels me. That's what fuels me. That's why is important. Why helps us to establish this meaning, which helps me to get to a level of being motivated. But without meaning, you'll never develop a method. And without that, you'll never become motivated. You need this. This is what motivates you. It's one thing to say, I want to lose weight. But sometimes it's until the doctor gives you a reason. If you don't lose this weight, you're going to live a short life. If you don't stop smoking, if you don't stop drinking, you're not going to be around long. That right there is the meaning behind you doing what you're doing. And that right there becomes the motivation in which you start doing it. Because in the back of your mind, you're saying, I got to get this done. I got to do it. What is your meaning? You're saving for the house. You need to give yourself that meaning. You need to write it down. I got to get out of this house. This house is too small. I got to get it out of this house. The rent, if I don't do it now, if I don't go into ownership now, by this time next year, the rent is going to skyrocket. That becomes your motivation. But without the meaning, you will have no motivation. Why am I here? Even in your dating, you got to have meaning. Why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I going out with you? What 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 what, what? Many relationships die because the only reason for the wedding, only reason for the marriage was the wedding. That was the motivation. I want to get married. No, you wanted to have a wedding. That was the meaning for you getting married. And when the wedding becomes the motivation, after the wedding, you are now becoming miserable. Because when everybody has ate all the food and left the repast, and you're now with that individual, and now those vows, for better or for worse, for sick or for poor, to death do us part, he didn't really want to do all that. I just wanted to have a wedding. The wedding was my motivation. The wedding was why I worked 2 or 3 jobs and I saved and I did all that. And now that that's out the way, I no longer have motivation to stay in a relationship because I never had the proper motives in the first place. Again, when you don't have meaning and the meanings are not connected to the necessary motives, you won't have motivation. My assignment tonight is to teach you how important it is to understand your why. Because why is what gives you meaning. Why is what teaches you how to develop methods of success. Duplicate success. How do I duplicate this? Being able to duplicate it means that you're able to pass it on to someone else. You're writing a playbook so you can call these same plays again. And when you have all these things, it gives you the motivation that is needed to maintain it. Yes, God, we are praying and asking God for a church. This is the church that we're praying for. This is the church that we're asking God for. But the question is, why? The why. We don't have the space. The why. We want to create things to help our community. We want to be a resource. We want to have community space and multi-purpose space. We want to be a safe haven for children and to teach them skills and methods and all of these things. That's our why. And if you're connected to our church, it should be your why as well. That's our why. That why is what motivates me. Our why. Why? Because as pastor, many people, when they have to have large events, funerals for their loved ones, they have to go and rent another church that's bigger, and they have to pay hundreds and sometimes $1,000 to rent that place. That's the why. That's the meaning. That's what motivates me. When I think about that, the drive. When I think about that, that's what fuels me. That's what drives me. That's what keeps me up at night. That's what keeps me motivated to the assignment, because what we're doing has meaning. Let me ask you a question. Is what you're doing right now, does it have meaning? Is what you're praying for, does it have meaning? Does your goals and dreams and aspirations, do they have meaning? Why? Why do you want it? Why do you want a new house? Write it down. This is why I want a new house. I need more space. I'm running out of space. That's what fuels me. Why do you want this? Why do I want this? What's your why? What is behind your why? Why do you want to get married? You want to get married just because you think, I want to live in sin, or I just want companionship? That's the wrong why. Why? Why do you want to be married? Why do you want to be a parent? You just want to look cute. You just want to have a baby? No. It's got to have more meaning than that. Why do you want to start that business? You want to start that business because you think being a business owner means you don't have to work? Do you mean because you want to quit your job, just want to own your business? That's your motivation? No. You got to have motivation. You got to have meaning. And those meanings have to be backed with integral motives. Because without it, you'll never have the methods you need to be great. There's ingredients that comes with greatness. And I'll say it again, I'm moving to our last thought. I'm almost done. Told you, we don't hold you about 40, 45 minutes. I want you to be able to duplicate your success. I want you to be able to tell someone else how you did it. I want you to be able to tell your grandchildren how you did it. Your friends how you did it. I want you to be able to package it. Patent it. That's what a patent is. A patent is the method in which I accomplished this. And people sell their patents. People put copyrights on their patents because they understand when you create a patent, when you create a successful method, others will love to try to duplicate it. You heard this term often: imitated, never duplicated, because you don't have my method. See, you can't think you can have my method just by watching. No, you got to sit down. I was talking to someone recently. I want to do what you do. I want to do how you do it. Okay, we got to sit down. No, I'll just watch you. No, you're not going to get it that way. You're not going to get it that way. You got to get the secret that's in this sauce. Let me give you my method. Let me give you my strategy. Let me give you the system that I use to continue to do what I do. The system I use to teach and to preach. Let me give you that system. There's a system. Yes, it's prayer. Yes, it's the Holy Spirit, but it's also a system. Because I got to preach on Sunday and teach on Tuesday and teach on Wednesday and perhaps do something else on. Yeah, so I need a system to continue to do what I do and be successful, so I'm not a one-hit wonder. Oh, Reb, he preached good probably about every other month. No, because there's a method in place, I'm able to be at least good enough every single week. But my motivation, my meaning for doing it is not for fame or fortune. What drives me is people wanting to be positioned to prosper. And that becomes my motivation. What drives you? What keeps you up at night? What makes you want to do what you want to do? What's your why? This is why I changed his life. Why am I here? This is not who I am. The why is what motivated him to get out of that situation. He understood his why. I got to get out of here. And that's what led him, I'm done, that's what led him back to his father's house. Once he realized, why did I even want that money? I had the wrong motives. Which leads me to my last thing. Your why will move you or helps you to move on from your mistakes. You know what the greatest part about this story is? Once he asked himself, why am I here starving? The story would have been totally different if he was hung up in pride. Go and read Luke chapter 15 for yourself. It would have been totally different if he said, you know what? They're going to talk about me if I go back home. Oh, I'm going to be the laughing stock of Pompano if I go back home. I done blew all this money. There's no way I can go back home. I might as well stay out here and be miserable. No. When he understood that why he asked for that money was not pure, why he was doing what he was doing made no sense, he was willing to move on from his mistakes and go back home. I don't know who I'm talking to tonight, but you've made a mistake. You've made some mistakes along life's journey. Don't be afraid. If you made a mistake, raise your hand. I'll raise both of them. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Yeah, we've all made mistakes. But even in the midst of that mistake, ask yourself, why did you make that mistake? Why did I do that? Well, I did that because of this. I did that because I was afraid. I did that because I didn't trust. I did that because, whatever. Why'd you do that? Well, I had infidelity because of this. I cheated because of that. Whatever. You figure it out. This is not, you don't have to type it all, but why? You got to ask yourself why. When you ask yourself that why, it'll help you move on from that mistake. You don't have to live. You don't have to die from that mistake. Getting to your why will help you to move on from your mistake. The young prodigal son, went back home. God, I don't know who this word is for tonight. I don't know who this master class is for tonight, but you need to receive greater intelligence on your why, because when you get to your why and things are not going the way it should go, and you're not being motivated like you should be motivated, maybe it's because you made a mistake. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have did this. I shouldn't have started this. I shouldn't have asked for this and went, whatever it was. But the question is, are you willing to move on? For those that may follow me on social media, and God laid this little thought on my heart. Sometimes, in order to move on, you got to move out. Move up, got to move out. Can't stay the same. Can't allow pride to stop you from being everything you desire to be. What would have happened if he never went back home? For those that know the story, when he went back home, his father was there waiting for him. Threw him a party. Say, my son is back. He was once lost. Now he's found. Beautiful story of redemption. Beautiful story of what can happen if you're willing to move past your mistakes. There are many of you watching this right now. You've made mistakes. You made mistakes in your business. You made mistakes in relationships. You made mistakes in employment. You made mistakes in money. You've made some mistakes. But even the mistakes can motivate you. Even the pig pen can motivate you. If for nothing else, it motivates you to get out of here. I don't have to continue to live in this vicious cycle of a mistake. This is not a perpetual place of pain for me. I'm moving on. Somebody shout, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. It is time to move on. I got to get out of here. It's not going to always be like this. I am moving past my mistakes. Because now the why has been established. Now I have meaning. Now I know methods. Now I have the right motivation. And I'm willing to move on. Past the hurt, the pain, the sorrow, the mistake, the misfortune, the mishap, the disappointment, the loss of it. That's okay. We've all made mistakes. We've all sinned and come short of the glory of God. That's okay. My assignment tonight is to get you to the why. Once you know why you did it, you won't ever have to do it again. My time is up tonight. My time is up tonight. My time is up tonight. But you need a why. You need to understand and establish right now, tonight, your why. Because when you establish that why is going to change everything. That why is going to get you back to where you want to be. My assignment for this personal intelligence has been, number one, if you didn't get all of these, go back and watch them. They're there, especially on YouTube. Go back and just look for greater intelligence. Just put greater intelligence in your search engine in YouTube. It's going to pop up. Number one, who am I? I got to know who I am. I got to know who I am. I have to know who I am. Then I need to know what I want. I know who I am. I know what I want. I have to know where am I. Because when I know where I am, I can get a good guess as to when I'm going to get there. It's a ETA. It's an estimated time of arrival. Then I got to ask myself the question, why? Why do I want this? Why do I want to make more money? What am I going to do with it? Why do I want to be married? Why do I want this? Why am I buying this? Well, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? The why gives you meaning. The why teaches you methods, helps you to develop methods. The why becomes your motivation. Then the why helps you to move past your mistakes. If I bless you tonight, just type, "You bless me, Pastor A." Thank you so much. Listen, I haven't been doing this because, again, God has led me. But listen, if you are not connected to Zion and you desire to be connected to, for whatever reason, you want to just grow with us and develop with us, we give you that opportunity each and every single time we are able to be online. We never take your presence for granted. If you desire to be saved, if you desire that you want to connect and just join Zion, you were connected to us in the virtual space. Hey, I want to officially be connected. I want to be known as being a part of P2P Nation. You can type save or join Zion on your screen right now. But listen, I want to invite you to something. This Sunday, all the month of March, we're focusing on greater wealth. Somebody shout greater wealth. Yes, greater wealth. Every single week throughout the month of March, we're going to have worship and workshop. The first 3 weeks, we're going to be worshiping and having workshops in various areas of wealth. I'm telling you, the knowledge that you're going to gain is well going to be worth your time. I want you to show up physically if you possibly can. I want you to show up physically to this. We're asking every person to wear your green, something green. If you don't have a green outfit, a green dress, a green shirt, bring a green towel, bring money and keep it in there. We just want you to represent green. Our first workshop, yes, it's home ownership. That's what the first workshop is about. Home ownership and credit repair. Listen, you can sign up. I need you to sign up tonight. You can. There's a link on this description of this service, of this masterclass, that you can sign up tonight. You can scan this QR code and sign up. We have a virtual option as well as a in-person option. And yes, it is right. In-person is a little less than the virtual option, but that's okay. There's a method to our madness. We want you to be present. I've got 2 of the greatest gurus in the area of home ownership and credit score coming together to give us a powerful workshop. You're not going to spend more than $15 for this. Listen, this is at least $1,000 worth of information that you're going to get for pretty much nothing. So I want you to do that. Take advantage of this. Gain some intelligence. Speaking of greater intelligence, gain some greater intelligence on wealth. The more you know, the further you go. Listen, I absolutely love you. God bless you. God keep you is our prayer. As always, if you're led to sow into what God is doing here through us at the Zionchurch, all the methods of sowing are right there on your screen. There's no pressure. We believe that God blesses you through sowing. All the information is there on your screen right now. I want to see you back next Tuesday. Now listen to me. Next Tuesday, I want you to be tuned in now. But next Tuesday, we're going to be at our church what we call greater gatherings. Every first Tuesday of the month, we're going to have a actual worship service, an in-person worship gathering. I want to invite you to come. Join us. If you're anywhere close to the city of Pompano Beach, I want to invite you to join us. Hey, there's a guest, a special guest. His name is Pastor Brandon McCoy. He's going to be joining us. There. That date is wrong. Excuse me. That's on your screen. It is not tomorrow. That's March 1st. It's March 7th. That is the date in which he'll be there. So I want you to mark your calendars to join us next Tuesday in person if possible. If not, we'll be right here on your same platforms. I actually love you. God bless you. God keep you is our prayer. May he continue to give you greater intelligence, because the more you know, the further you'll go. Be blessed.